If the scientists say that by nature they mean the universe itself, then we do not need to bother refuting them, because the falseness of this view is obvious from what we have said previously, that a thing can bring itself into existence. In other words, they are saying that the universe created the universe. That is, the heavens created the heavens. The earth created the earth. The universe created man and animals. And we have already explained that human reason refuses to accept that a thing could create itself. To make matters clear, we say that a thing cannot create something that is more developed than itself, such as the heavens, the earth, the stars, the sun, the moon, does not possess reason, nor does it possess the faculties of hearing, seeing. So how could it create man who hears? How could nature create man who sees? How could nature who has no knowledge create man that knows? So how can nature create something that is more developed than itself? If they say all of what was created by accident, we say we know for sure that there was no accident involved in the creation of the universe. And we have already explained this. There is also the argument in the theory of self-generation, an argument that has been proven to be false. One of the things that helped to spread this new view, new ideology, the view that nature is the creator, was the scientist's observation of the appearance of maggots in the excrement of humans and animals, small worms, and the formation of bacteria which ate food and caused it to rot. And they say, these are living things which are generated by nature alone. The idea lent weight to the new view of nature in the eyes of those who were misguided far astray from true religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala soon exposed the falsehood of this theory at the hands of a famous French scientist who proved that these maggots and bacteria referred to did not generate themselves from nature, but their origins lay in something even smaller than what was invisible to the naked eye. And he produced evidence which convinced scientists that what he said was true. What he did was, he sealed some food away from the open air and killed all the bacteria by boiling it. No new bacteria formed in the food, and it did not turn rotten. So this is the theory on which the food canning industry is based. So there was no evidence of self-generation in this. Nature is the law which governed the universe. This is another false ideology. Another group suggests that nature is the law which governs the universe. This is the view of those who claim to have knowledge and who believe that nature is the creator. And they say, this universe is running according to certain laws which regulate its affairs down to the last detail. The events that happen in this universe happen according to these laws of nature. This is like a clock which runs accurately and precisely for a long time, running by itself with no controller. In fact, these people are not answering the question that has been asked. Who created the universe? They tell us about the way in which the universe operates. And they tell us how these laws affect things. But we want to know who created the universe? Who created the laws that govern it? Ancient man knew that rain came from the sky. But nowadays we know everything about how water evaporates from the sea until drops of water fall on the land. All of this is a description of what happens. not who created it, who originated it, but it is not in itself an explanation. The operation and the way things operate is in itself not an explanation. Science does not tell us how these events became laws, how the water is held between the heaven and earth in these stunning and beautiful forms that is the clouds. It is from these phenomena that the scientists derive these laws. When man claims that by discovering the laws of nature, he has solved the mystery of the universe, he is only deceiving himself. When he makes this claim, he is putting a link from the middle of the chain to the end. Nature does not explain anything about the universe. It in itself is in need of explanation. For example, there is a debate that could take place between, or that took place between an intelligent man and a doctor who was prominent in its field. And the person asked, "Why is blood red?" And the doctor replied, "Because there are red cells in the blood. The size of each cell is 1/700 of an inch." The questioner then said, "Okay, but why are these cells red?" And the doctor said, "Because in the blood there is a substance called hemoglobin, which becomes red when it is mixed with oxygen in the heart." And the questioner will then ask or asked, "That's fair enough. But where do these cells which carry hemoglobin come from?" And the doctor says, "They are manufactured in your liver." Wonderful. But how are all these things, the blood cells, the liver, etc., connected to one another so perfectly? And how do they each play their part with such precision? The doctor said, "This is what we call the law of nature." The questioner then can ask, or he has asked, "What do you mean by the law of nature?" The doctor said, "What we mean by the law or the laws of nature is the blind internal operation of natural chemical forces." What we mean by natural law is the blind internal operation of natural and chemical forces. And we can ask, and it can be asked, but why do these forces always produce the same result? How are things regulated so that birds fly in the air? Fish live in the water. Man lives in this world with all his amazing potentials and capabilities. The doctor then says, "Don't ask me about that. Don't ask me about that. My science only tells me about what happens. It does not answer the question about why it happens." And from these questions, it becomes clear the extent to which modern science can explain the causes and effects behind this universe. The universe is like a machine which operates beneath a cover, and we know nothing about it except the fact that it is running. But if we lift the lid from this machine and from the cover, we lift the lid and the cover from this machine, we will see how the many parts and the cogs of this machine are connected to one another, how they turn one another. We will see all the movements of this machine. But does this mean that we know who created this machine just by looking at its parts? Just by looking at its parts in movement and spinning? How can our seeing the machine running be proof that the machine came into existence by itself and is running by itself? And this proves the falseness of this claim. Others say nature in itself is a force. There are those who say that nature is a force which created the universe, and that it is a living, hearing, seeing, wise and powerful force. And we say to them, "You are right, but your mistake is that you call this force nature. This creative, innovative force has told us the name by which it deserves to be called, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has told us of His beautiful names, of His sublime attributes. So we must call Him by the names which He has called Himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, exalted is He and all high is He. Those who came before them said something similar. Those who attribute creation to nature had predecessors who said something very similar. These were people that came in the past, the Zahiriyah, who attributed events to al-Dhahr, the time. They saw that children grow into adults. Adults grow into old men. Old man dies as time goes by. Night and day alternate. So they attributed life and death to time.